And welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that consumes most of our lives, our day-to-day, our thoughts and feelings, the topic of money management. We all want to know, how can we secure that bag? How can we get rich? How can we secure generational wealth? The mark just keeps moving forward in terms of our aspirations and the security that we're longing for. Right now, it's a huge trend for financial literacy, which is a beautiful thing to see, especially amongst women, South Asian women. There's a lot of information and education out there in terms of, okay, how can we get educated? How can we attain that financial security? And that's so important and so crucial and fundamental. And that just opens up the dialogue as to what are the mental health and psychological aspects that are also relevant to that process. What are the underpinnings in terms of South Asian culture that connects to, okay, so these are the trends, this is what we see, and why is that there? So the first thing to talk about is that in the culture, not generalizing, but just anecdotally speaking, based on observation and conversations, it seems that money represents a few things within most of our families. So growing up, maybe money was how we perceived self-worth, or more so how we saw our parents perceiving self-worth, being a topic of conversation, being a sole focus, often seeing our dads and moms having tunnel vision. And yes, a huge component of that had to do with, well, they had to survive, they had to put food on the table, and they were new immigrants, so naturally so, money was what was going to be the main thing on their minds. But also, what was the energy in the home around the topic of finances? Was there maybe anxiety, scarcity feelings? Was there also a little bit of inconsistency in terms of overextending oneself with credit and using money and purchasing and meals out as a form of attaining happiness? Was there maybe a tendency to use affluence to feel better and to have a space in society, and really being fixated and focused on stature and climbing in terms of stature? So thinking about and reflecting, looking back, what was the energy about money in my home? Did we have talks about financial responsibility? Was it consistent? Was most of our happiness delivered in the form of superficial and materialistic means? And then just thinking about what patterns that created, what learned behaviors are sticking around. So in that sense, okay, maybe we learned that money has a huge role in our identity, the way we see ourselves, our self-worth. Okay, on a grander scale, maybe money also represents that we've made it. Maybe it's a part of the healing journey. If you take a kind of zoomed out look, if you look at South Asian community, specifically talking about Punjabi families, what have they endured generationally? There's been attempt of genocide. There's been attempt of trying to be erased. So naturally, when you have that feeling of a lack of security and footing in terms of foundation and safety, well, what's the way you're going to attain that? With financial security, with money, with trying to make yourself be as safe and secure as possible. So it makes a lot of sense why our parents were really focused on that. But at the same time, thinking about, okay, what type of energy did I absorb from that? Sometimes what I often hear from a lot of clients is that their introduction to the talk about money was having to help their parents with online banking at an age where maybe they had no business doing that. So the anxiety around it, the pressure, the stress, and just hearing the types of fear and maybe sometimes conflict that was happening in the house as a result of money issues and things like that, feelings of scarcity. So in that sense, if you grew up feeling like there was never enough, well, naturally so in adulthood, you're going to want to compensate for that and try to fill and tend to that wound and that insecurity. And that's why right now, in an era of instant gratification, it's a slippery slope in terms of, well, how much are we focusing on money and making money as a means of just being responsible and growing in life, and how much of it is trying to tend to some old wounds that might need to be worked with in a deeper way. Another point in terms of instant gratification era, and what I mean by that is being able to feel better really fast with the click of just ordering food or online shopping, is it doesn't allow us to develop the skill of distress tolerance. So if we're never really getting to exercise alternative coping mechanisms, and our go-to is always to go buy something, go shopping, make ourselves feel better, make ourselves worthy, have more confidence through those means, then naturally sometimes some unhealthy patterns and a little bit of addiction can seep in that sense. You're addicted to feeling better with just one way. And in that point, yeah, sure, you can make more money, but can you sustain it? Are your habits going to allow you to maintain that type of lifestyle that you've attained? And what's being lost in the process of that grind, of that hustle? Are you truly growing internally too? So remembering the 4 aspects of health: mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health. If we're too fixated on one, we might be lacking in other areas. So just adopting a more reflective and kind of introspective attitude about where does my attitude with money management come from. The last thing I guess I'll say about this is that sometimes it can really come down to just deciding, this is the moment where I'm going to choose different. This is the moment where I'm going to sit with my feelings instead of reaching for my usual coping mechanism. And that will often give you a lot of information in terms of what's the other half of the story. Why am I feeling the need to make as much money as possible and then subsequently spend it without really paying attention to what I'm doing? So yes, topically and surface level, it's so important to get educated. It's so important to know how to budget. It's so important to have good role models, but it's also so important to understand what's going on for you on a wiring sense and how to maybe work around rewiring that. That was a lot of information in a condensed short period of time, but I hope you found it useful. I hope that there's some takeaways from this. I'd love to hear your feedback and get a dialogue started about this. Of course, you don't have to agree with all of the thoughts and opinions that come up on this channel, but the main point is just for people to get curious and start reflecting and maybe connecting some dots and having some light bulb moments. So again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comment section or maybe tweet me. And I will see you all next time. God bless.